Hello, this is Steve Smith with my monthly Looking Up Obscast. This is a concise version of the monthly Looking Up article you can find in the Event Horizon magazine, where you can find more detailed charts and pictures of some of the featured objects available this month. Have you ever gone outside on a starry night, got set up and looked up at the sky and then wondered what to look at? I have been there and I've got the t-shirts. But I soon learned that it is better to have a list of currently available objects containing plenty of old favourites and some new stuff ready for the next observing session. There's always plenty to see if you're aware of what is currently up there. Whilst observing, I usually scribble brief notes against each object on the list that I see, the conditions, etc. Then the next day, I write an account of this session, listing in more detail what I have seen and any thoughts that occur to me at the time. I use an iPad with the Sky Safari Pro app to find stuff. The app is also useful to identify what things you are looking at. If you're confused about what moons are what, like for example the moons of Jupiter or Saturn, or galaxy names, etc., then an app can really clarify things for you. I found it useful to be able to look back on these sessions and also share them with other keen observers. So if you have had a good viewing session, why not write it up and share it with your like-minded fellow members? Simply email it to the Society's Event Horizon magazine. Okay, here we go with this month's Looking Up. The sun never sinks much below the UK's horizon this month, meaning it will not get much darker than nautical twilight until the very end of July, when astronomical twilight returns. Yay! Meanwhile, enjoy the balmy weather. And what are this month's highlights? Well, planetary action is back on the horizon, or should I say, above the horizon this month. Jupiter makes a welcome return, rising at 2:50 a.m. and blazing away at magnitude -2.2 in Taurus the Bull. Saturn, however, is first up, rising just after midnight, its creamy disk shining at magnitude +1 and climbing to 20 degrees above the horizon by the end of the night. Mars rises before Jupiter at around 2 a.m, giving us 3 hours to view it before sunrise. Mars is still at a good distance from Earth, so its apparent diameter is still small at 6 arc seconds, but we can look forward to it reaching 14.5 arc seconds when it is at opposition in January 2025, so it's coming around. A moderate scope and good seeing conditions will be needed to discern any detail at its currently low altitude. The summer triangle asterism provides us with lots of goodies, including rich star fields, and it's right above us at midnight. Nebula like the Ring Nebula M57 and the Dumbbell Nebula M27, also globular clusters like M56 and star asterisms such as the Coathanger in Vulpecula and Job's Coffin in Delphinus. Our summer Milky Way makes a wonderful sight around midnight as it flows up from the southern horizon, passes through the summer triangle and continues northwards across the sky. If you get the chance to see the Milky Way, especially from a dark location, just take a few minutes to admire this awesome view of our home galaxy. Take a closer look using binoculars to resolve it even further into myriads of stars. You may glimpse meteors from the Delta Aquarids annual shower, which runs from mid-July to mid-August. It peaks around the 30th of July. And don't forget about the heads up from member John Brown regarding the recurring nova T Corona Borealis, or TCRB. It's expected to go pop anytime this year. So, like me, try to keep a lookout for this predicted event and spread the word if you see it. Personally, I was out last night fasting before I went to bed just to see if it had popped. It has not. The moon makes for a good bright target during this time of year when true astronomical darkness is absent from our skies, and keeping an eye out for noctilucent clouds. 'Tis the season, but not for much longer, as this phenomena generally wanes during early August. So what's on Deep Sky? What Deep Sky is on show this month? As always, last month's item are still up there and they mostly apply. Sagittarius, the Archer, is at opposition on the ecliptic this month, and yes, dwarf planet Pluto is in the area too. It's lying just left or adjacent to M75. The brightest stars in Sagittarius form an asterism that is perhaps easier recognised these days as the Teapot. You may have heard of it, or you may have heard of the Archer. Interestingly, yes, we used to refer to it as the Archer. Interestingly, the centre of the Milky Way lies in this constellation, and the Sagittarius star cloud M24 is the densest region in the Milky Way. This whole area is rich with star clusters and nebula, making it a spectacular sight through binoculars. There are so many open clusters in Sagittarius, like M18, which is a sparse cluster with about 20 stars. M25 is a fifth magnitude cluster which appears as a loose scattered group of 30 stars. M23, an irregularly shaped cluster of some 120 stars. And lastly, M21, a diamond-shaped cluster with around 70 stars of 8th magnitude and fainter. Quite amazing to see through binoculars or a scope. M22 is considered one of the finest globular clusters in the sky and is the closest globular to our solar system. It has a diameter across the sky of 32 minutes, which makes it slightly larger than the full moon, and it contains about 500,000 stars. Now, with a visual magnitude of plus 5.1, it can be seen naked eye sometimes, but it can be seen with binoculars or even the naked eye on a clear night, and is the third brightest in the sky after Omega Centauri and 47 Tucanae. Several other bright Messier globular clusters abide in Sagittarius: M28, M54, M55. I'll reel them off, just a few more: M69, M70 and M75, each a rewarding sight in medium aperture telescopes. On a clear, dark night, if you look at the area directly above the spout of the Sagittarius Teapot, you can see M8, the famous Lagoon Nebula. This glowing cloud of gas and dust appears nearly 1 degree in diameter and is a highlight of the summer sky. I mention this because M8 is a spectacular object in a small telescope, and it's nearly as impressive as the Great Orion Nebula M42. There are loads of other objects in this area of sky, mentioned in the Event Horizon article this month. Elsewhere, take a look at Messier 14 or M14. It is a globular cluster in the constellation of Fiacus. At magnitude plus 7.6, M14 can be easily observed with binoculars. Medium-sized telescopes show a hint of individual stars, the brightest of which are 14th magnitude. Did you know that M14 contains several 100,000 stars, and it's actually approaching us at 77 miles per second? Amazing to think. These sights can create wow moments that will stay in your thoughts for several days and may be added to your favourite objects list to return to time and time again. There are lots more details and pictures about these and other items in the Event Horizons Looking Up. I also mention what is happening with the planets, and I've listed and charted recommended objects for this time of year too. Again, it would be good to hear from you about any observing sessions you may have had, or we can have a chat about any of this stuff when we're up at the Obs on any wonderful Wednesday evening. So, are you now ready for looking up? This is Steve Smith, wishing you all clear skies and lots of wild moments. Thank you for listening. Bye.
Thank you very much for listening to the latest episode of Your Obscast. Before we leave you, we have a few dates for members and non-members to remember. On the 24th of July, there is a talk called Journey to Space, The Dreams by Jeffrey McQuone. That's for members only. And on the 27th of July, we have a public open day Tickets sell fast for that, so if you want a ticket, please do that as soon as possible. And if you are a member and want to volunteer, please get in touch with Brendan Schooler. On Tuesday the 30th of July, we have a society lecture for members only, given by Professor Ian Robson. That talk's called The Pluto Story. I will see you there, and we will see you next time for the next episode of the Obscast.